Thoughts and prayers are wonderful, but let's put some boots on the ground. Let's make sure that we don't create a culture where this can happen again.
A second vigil in as many days in the Red River Valley for the victims in Orlando. The number of people attending tonight in Grand Forks was larger than last night's in Moorhead. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. About 100 people gathered at the Lutheran Campus Center at the University of North Dakota.
They lit candles, one for each person who died in yesterday's act of terrorism. They prayed for the people who remain wounded and for the victims' families and friends. One individual telling us they came together hoping for a change in our culture, a change that would put a stop to the senseless killing.
This was supposed to be a safe space, and this really kind of attacks that and harms that, and so I hope it helps people find that safe space again so that we can talk the politics later. We can talk all of the issues and the whys and the whatevers later. Right now it's about grief and compassion and coming together as a community.
Powers says the community has come a long way in fighting violence and creating safe areas, but says there's still a lot of work needed to be done.
Meanwhile, President Barack Obama will be traveling to Orlando on Thursday. Today, he criticized lax American gun policies, just as he did after mass shootings in Aurora, Colorado, Newtown, Connecticut, and San Bernardino, California. Meanwhile, the FBI is looking into the possibility that Omar Mateen visited Pulse nightclub and tried to communicate with some of its patrons on a gay dating app before the shootings. A customer at the club told MSNBC that Mateen tried to get in contact with him through Grindr, a dating application for gay and bisexual men, but that he blocked Mateen because he was creepy. Investigators are reviewing that and statements from members of Orlando's gay community who said they recall having seen Mateen at the club several times.
Social media is again keeping people engaged with developments in Orlando. Valley News Team's crime and safety reporter Nicole Johnson shows us how Facebook is playing a major role in connecting people in the metro to those impacted by the shootings.
30-minute drive from here was one of the largest shootings in the United States history. And just that fact hasn't really sunk in.
Former NDSU student Abby Armstrong moved to Orlando a couple years ago after graduation to work for Walt Disney World.
Saying, hey, I saw this on my news, what is going on in Orlando? And half the time I said, I don't know yet, but I'm safe, my loved ones are safe, to the best of my knowledge.
When Facebook prompted, she marked herself as safe.
They don't use that tool for everything. They use it for those huge earthquakes happening around the world, not something that happens right outside your door. So it was that was one of the things that really shook me as this is real. This is something that's so much bigger than what I've already looked on in the news.
And while it was still sinking in for Armstrong, her former band director, who's still at NDSU, Sigrid Johnson, got a notification on Facebook telling him she's safe.
I didn't think she'd be at the club, but it's you know, you automatically think when you see events like this take place, no matter where they are in the world, it's you still want to go, oh my gosh, somebody's there. I hope they're okay. And that seems like a really good way to get that word out.
Johnson has breathed a sigh of relief before during an attack on Brussels when NDSU students were abroad.
We as teachers develop just real strong concerns and everything about our students.
While Johnson was glad for the notification, calling, texting, or posting was the last thing on Armstrong's mind.
It wasn't just marking myself as safe, it was really me recognizing the magnitude of what had happened to the city.
Nicole Johnson, Valley News Live.
Anderson works at Disney World. She says since the attack, they have tightened security and changed policies about employees being able to use their cell phones while at work. Memorials to the victims of the Orlando shooting are popping up all across the country. Once the scene of tragedy, the I-35W bridge in Minneapolis was lit in rainbow colors to honor those who were killed in Sunday's club shooting. On August 1st, 2007, the 35W bridge collapsed during rush hour, killing 13 people and injuring 145 others.
Both Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton are sharpening their stances on issues like gun control, terrorism, and national security in the wake of America's deadliest mass shooting. Trump renewed his call for a ban on all Muslims entering the U.S., saying that he would expand his immigration policy if he's elected president. Trump also said the attack in Orlando is the result of the nation's immigration policies.
We cannot afford to talk around issues anymore. We have to address these issues head on. I called for a ban after San Bernardino and was met with great scorn and anger. But now, many years, and I have to say many years, but many are saying that I was right to do so. And although the pause is temporary, we must find out what is going on. We have to do it.
During a speech in Cleveland, Hillary Clinton called for unity and vowed to go after lone wolves if she's elected president. She laid out her plans to defeat ISIS and expanded her calls for a ban on weapons.
We already know we need more resources for this fight. The professionals who keep us safe would be the first to say we need better intelligence to discover and disrupt terrorist plots before they can be carried out. That's why I've proposed an intelligence surge to bolster our capabilities across the board with appropriate safeguards here at home.
Clinton is expected to return to her normal schedule tomorrow with a campaign event in Pittsburgh. Trump, meanwhile, travels to North Carolina for an evening rally.
Fargo police are looking for your help. They released these surveillance photos from a robbery at the Loaf and Jug off of 25th Street in Fargo earlier this month. Investigators say two men entered the gas station wearing dark clothing with their faces covered. No one was hurt, but the men got away with some money. If you have any information on these two individuals, you're asked to call 241-5777.
Police are asking for your help in finding a missing teen from Dent, Minnesota. 17-year-old Alicia Randall has been missing since May 26th. Randall has black hair, green eyes, stands 4 feet 11 inches tall, and weighs about 125 pounds. She may be in the company of an adult, and police are not sure if she's still in the area or if she's traveled to Utah or Texas. Call authorities if you have any information on her whereabouts. The number is on your screen.
A group of people gathered on the steps of North Dakota's Capitol today to voice their displeasure with the Attorney General's office and the Bureau of Criminal Investigation. Daryl Schrum was never charged with a crime, but his payloader was still confiscated after being reported stolen. Now he says he's going to sue the state for $60,000 because the loader was not returned to him.
Did everything I was supposed to do to make sure that it wasn't stolen. Matter of fact, when I purchased the loader, it was not stolen. It wasn't reported stolen until 45 days after I purchased it.
When asked about the Schrum case, officials with the Attorney General's office said the Schrum matter has been resolved in court.
There's a boy in Fargo who knows all about prehistoric creatures, from the different dinosaurs to what they eat. 5-year-old Zaire Trottier is living with a heart condition, has already gone through 2 open heart surgeries.
Zaire was happy to learn that he has a chance to go to Universal Studios and tame a dinosaur. Valley News team's Giovanna Simic caught up with the family and tells us what this wish means to them.
It's just been a tough journey, so I feel like he deserves it. My son's been through so much, and he's only 5, and he's had to go through 2 open heart surgeries.
5-year-old Zaire is a paleontologist prodigy. His love for dinosaurs is the one thing that helped him be strong through his heart condition.
What kind of sound does a dinosaur make?
Dinosaur sounds.
His mom Amanda says this journey has been difficult, but Zaire has been strong through the battle.
He doesn't act like he's gone through a lot. He's tough, you know what I mean? He went through it, and he doesn't talk about it, or he doesn't feel like he's any different.
So when the family found out that Make-A-Wish will grant Zaire's wish, they say it will make his fight to stay healthy easier.
For the rest of his life, it's a constant battle he's going to have to face, and I'm just glad he gets to have experiences and that they've helped us.
It distracts them from their condition. You know, they don't have to think about pokes and prodding and doctors. This is a time for them to celebrate and have fun and not worry about that stuff.
A tough battle for a 5-year-old.
You never know what will happen to these wish children, so it's a time that they will get to remember and keep as a memory.
A memory Zaire says he will never forget. In Fargo, Giovanna Simic, Valley News Live.
Zaire and his family will leave for Universal Studios on June 27th.